Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. Welcome to Wicked Wednesday, where we discuss all the new comics that's coming out this week. Every Wednesday is like Christmas for us nerds because that's when the new comics come out. These are my recommendations for the best books to pick up on Wednesday. But here's some other information first. Well, folks, I just got married and I'm getting back in the swing of things. I just got married to a wonderful woman and I appreciate all the congrats I got from you guys. In other news, I recently eclipsed the 1,000 subscriber mark, so there's going to be a special giveaway for that coming soon. But for now, let's get into new comic day. And DC Comics is giving us Action Comics number 990. This is part 4 of the Oz Effect. Cover A is going to be lenticular and cost $4. The standard cover is going to cost just $3. There's also going to be a cover C variant, which looks like this. At this point in the storyline, it says that if Superman refuses to join Mr. Oz, then maybe Superboy will. Next up is Batgirl number 16. This is part 3 of the Summer of Lies storyline, co-starring Nightwing. Joshua Milden is doing the cover B variants on this. He's trying to join Frank Cho and Jenny Frison as breakout artists doing variants for an iconic DC character. Next up is The Flash number 33, and this is part 1 of Bats Out of Hell. This is coming from details that are coming from Dark Knight's Metal issue number 3. So to make better sense of what's going on here, you need to go back and read that. Next up is Mother Panic number 12. I think this is one of the most underrated comics out there today. This takes place in Gotham in the Batman universe, but it's a female vigilante who decides to go out and do the Batman thing, but she's not related to Batman whatsoever. And they're letting the character grow independent of Batman at the moment. Her real name is Violet Page, and her first appearance is in Mother Panic number 1 in 2016. Next up is Wonder Woman number 33, and this is part 1 of Times Past, and it's going to co-star Grail as the villain. I'm very high on this character, being that she is the daughter of Darkseid. She has a power set that's more than enough for Wonder Woman, considering she has a lot of her father's powers like Omega Beams. She makes her first appearance in Justice League number 40 from 2015. This is a must-have comic. Of course, issue number 33 continues the Jenny Frison variants, and they just get better and better. She really captures what Wonder Woman is all about. Also look out for second printings of Batman the Drowned number 1 and Batman Dawnbreaker number 1, which were also set up by Dark Knight's Metal. First released in August of 2017. Next up, let's see what Marvel is up to, and that's going to be all new Wolverine number 26. This is part 2 of the Orphans of X storyline, and Wolverine, currently known as Old Man Logan, his son will be showing up in this. Next up is America number 8, and we have the first appearance of a new character called Exterminatrix. I really like this idea because it's Marvel making fun of itself and the whole comic book industry, who in the 1970s started to design female characters that looked a lot like a dominatrix or something. Female characters are not designed like that anymore, so for Marvel to design one in 2017 is obviously a joke. The anti-diversity crowd in comics really hate this character, but in all seriousness, I don't think they get it. At first, I didn't get it at first either, because I was first introduced to America from the Ultimates, but her solo title is going for a much younger audience with a whole lot of humor thrown in. In the case of America number 8, it couldn't hurt to take a flyer on this, considering her print run is very low. It's the introduction of a new character who could be her arch enemy. The character is so new that she doesn't have a rogues gallery yet. If you're a Spider-Man fan, then you can pick up this variant right here, which is a homage swipe to Spider-Man number 39 back in 1966, which was John Romita Sr.'s first cover for Spider-Man. Next up is Black Panther number 166. In case you forgot, they're going back to their original numbering for the Marvel Legacy Initiative. I really love this cover. This is Black Panther fighting his arch enemy, the Claw. If this doesn't get you to buy it, then the variants will, such as this Jenny Frison connecting variant. I really like her take on Black Panther. And of course, there's going to be a swipe variant cover. This swipe pays homage to Incredible Hulk number 340, that classic Wolverine versus Hulk Todd McFarlane cover. The storylines on Black Panther have been very long developing, but starting to have a payoff now. Next up is Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur number 24. I recommend this every month that it comes out because it's a good introductory book for a young girl aged 6 to 10, and everything they're doing with this character seems like a setup for an animated television show in the future like Static Shock. Next up is Thor, Where Walk the Frost Giants number 1. Everything you need to know about this is in the title. It's Thor fighting frost giants. Personally, I like the cover B variant much better. It's got a lot of power about it. There's a special presentation in this as well. It includes a reprint of Journey into Mystery number 112, which is a classic battle between the Hulk and Thor. Seriously, can't wait to Ragnarok. Me and my wife will be first in line. Next up is Star Wars Jedi of the Republic, Mace Windu, number 3 of a 5-part miniseries. This is a character that's played by Sam Jackson in the prequels. In this continuity, the Jedi are not just peacekeepers, but they're generals in the army of the Republic during the Clone Wars. This 5-part miniseries is fantastic. You definitely should be reading it. Next up is Weapon X number 10. I expressed that I'm not a fan of what they've done with this mashup, first introduced in the Totally Awesome Hulk number 22. But if you're still on board with this, he takes on the original Wolverine, aka Old Man Logan in this. I have to admit, that's an awesome cover. Next up is our report on independent comics and small publishers. First up is Self-Storage from 451 Media, which is going to trade paperback. It's the story of a guy named Chris Smith that flips storage units, and one day he discovers a zombie in one of them. In 2015 and 16, 451 Media put out some very outstanding high-quality science fiction. The company is linked to Hollywood director Michael Bay, so it's worth taking a flyer on their product. It could be a proving ground for future television shows or movies. Next up is Dark Ark number 2 from Aftershock Comics. This is a retelling of the Noah's Ark story, which includes monsters and dragons and demons. Of course it does. It's written by Cullen Bunn. He's the master of horror. It's what he does. Next up, and also from Aftershock, is Fujitsu number 2. It's the story of the world's smartest boy who does not age in his ongoing battle against Robert Wadlow, the world's tallest man, and his scheme to take over the world. This title is weird, funny, and completely unconventional. It was my pick of the week for September 27th, 2017. Things get even more complicated for our protagonist because he's going through a nasty breakup with his girlfriend. Next up is Lady Mechanica, Clockwork Assassin, issue number 3 of a 3-part miniseries from Benitez Productions. Lady Mechanica is a cult favorite. It's about steampunk, science fiction, horror action. Next up is Victor LaValle's Destroyer, number 6 of a 6-part miniseries. So this is the finale also from Boom Studios. It's the story of a scientist named Josephine Baker, who's the last descendant of Frankenstein, and her son is killed in a police shooting, so she uses technology to bring him back. The original Frankenstein monster, who's been out there for over 150 years, is also coming back to civilization, making things even more crazy. This is science fiction, action, horror, revenge. I named issue number 1 the pick of the week for May 24th, 2017, and if you missed out on this, go get the trade paperback when it drops in the future. It was well executed in both story and art, a real winner. Next up is the Shaolin Cowboy, Who Will Stop the Rain, in hardcover graphic novel from Dark Horse Comics. This is a collection of all 4 issues of this miniseries. This is the story of a Shaolin monk who's kicked out of his monastery and there's a bounty on his head. The character was created in 2004 and he's been through a whole series of different miniseries since then. It's written and drawn by DARROW and this way over the top ludicrous style. Next up is Ghostbusters Answer the Call, number 1 from IDW. This is of course based on the movie and the female version of the Ghostbusters. Honestly, the movie wasn't that hot. Hopefully the comic will be better. Next up is No Room for Magic, number 1 from Kingspot Entertainment. This is being produced by ADRIAN, RAMOS, who's a critically acclaimed cartoonist. It's an all-ages fantasy series, and it's been selling extremely well on pre-order. If you're a fan of Goonies or Harry Potter, then this is for you. Next up, let's see what Valiant is up to. They always deliver some top-notch stuff. Starting with Bloodshot Salvation, issue number 2. This is testosterone-based adrenaline action. There hasn't been anything in comics this good in this genre since Frank Miller Daredevil, or better yet, Frank Miller Wolverine in the early 80s. This takes place 8 years after the conclusion of Bloodshot Reborn. Bloodshot now has a daughter named Jessie who has inherited some of his powers. So of course there's bad guys that want to take her away. And Bloodshot is not having that. I named Bloodshot Salvation number 1 the pick of the week for September 20th, 2017. I'm projecting for this issue to sell somewhere in the neighborhood of about 20 to 22K. So the 1 in 20 and 1 in 50 variants are going to be extremely rare and valuable because they'll be generally rare due to the low print run. Next up is Exo Man of War number 8. I can't say enough about this book. The covers alone are enough for you to pick this up for $4. It's the story of Eric of Dacia, a 5th century barbarian who is abducted by space aliens. He leads a revolt against them like Spartacus and steals their most highly precious weapon, the Exo Man of War armor. In this continuity, he's living in exile on a foreign planet which breaks out into war, so he must summon the armor one more time. Next up is the speculation pick of the week. And that's going to be Eternity, number 1 of a 4-part miniseries, also from Valiant Comics. This is from Matt Kent on the writing and Trevor Carson on the art. It's the same creative team that gave us Divinity back in 2015 to critical acclaim. This promises to be a cosmic story told in the Jack Kirby style, told at that cosmic science fiction godlike level. So if you enjoyed what they did with Divinity, you will really dig this. It's going to be the first appearance of a host of new characters as well as a big addition to the Valiant continuity universe. So if you really love what Jack Kirby did with the Eternals or what Jim Starlin did with the Celestials, then this is definitely for you. A lot of people don't know it, but Valiant has the third largest contiguous universe. Only Marvel and DC have larger universes than them. They are not trying to oversaturate the market, so they only put out about 10 issues a month. So this helps keeps their quality high. You should be picking up one Valiant copy of something at least every week. Speaking of high quality, let's see what Image Comics is up to. And that's going to include Deadly Class number 31. It's a story of crime families and where they send the next generation of assassins to get trained. It's like the Breakfast Club meets Gotham Academy meets the Hunger Games. It's really good. Next up is Gasolina number 2. This is the story of two newlyweds who go down to Mexico to take on drug cartels. This was a minor hit last month and it sold out, so number 1 is going to a second print. That second print will also be a variant, so look out for that. Next up is Hack Slash Resurrection number 1. This is the latest series about Cassie Hack, a woman who's a victim of monsters who are called slashers. So get it, Hack Slash. And she takes up arms against these monsters to prevent others from becoming victims. It was first introduced in 2004 and it's been critically acclaimed ever since. Originally published on Devil's Due Publishing, now on Image. It was optioned for a television show way back in 2005, so you see how slow the wheels turn on getting indies funded to become projects outside of comics. It takes a long time and it takes a lot of money that they don't have. Disney owns Marvel and Warner Brothers owns DC, so they can just write a check and get any project they want green-lighted. But indies, it takes a long time, regardless of how good the material is. But anywho, go ahead and pick this up. If you're not familiar with Hack Slash, use Buffy the Vampire Slayer as a starting point, and then you'll be able to get into it. Next up is The Hard Place, number 3 of a 5-part miniseries. It's a story of a bank giveaway driver who decides to go straight but gets pulled back into the life of crime. All the main cover A's are drawn by Brian Stelfreeze, who's the main artist on Black Panther and was nominated for an Eisner, so that's why they look so great. If you like crime dramas based on bank robberies, then this is for you. Next up is Saga, number 48. I've run out of descriptions to describe this. It's the best thing going in action, science fiction, mystery. It's like Romeo and Juliet meets Star Wars meets Bonnie and Clyde. This tale from Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples deserves every Eisner it ever won. Next up is The Southern Cross number 13. I think this is one of the most underrated titles in comics right now. It's the story of a woman on a space station who's traveling to a far off moon to gather clues on who killed her sister. It's the brainchild of Becky Cloonan, who's one of the most respected female artists and writers in the history of comics. And this series got lost in the wash somewhere. It's very, very good. You should be picking this up. Or just go back and get the trade so you'll know what's going on. Next up is Redneck, which is going to a trade paperback. This is the story of a family of vampires living in East Texas. After an uneasy truce for decades, they finally get outed and all hell breaks loose. This is from Donny Cates, the same guy that wrote God Country, and it was a critical and commercial success. So if you missed out, go ahead and pick up this trade paperback and you will be a fan. Next up is Spawn issue 279. This is part 4 of the dark horror storyline. Todd McFarlane is concentrating on the Spawn movie, so the comic is in the hands of the Rage Savage and Jason Sean Alexander on the art. It has a different feel on it now that Todd McFarlane isn't involved. You know the drill. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, give it a thumbs up, and share these videos on social media so others learn about Comic Power. Be sure to click on the bell to receive notifications. When there's a new video, it'll tip you off on that. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching Wicked Wednesday, where I review all the new comic books for a new comic day. Be sure to follow my blog at comicpower.net. On social media, follow me at facebook.com/comicpower.net and comicpower-universe.tumblr.com. And don't forget twitter.com/comicpowersub. I also sell comics on eBay at this link. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye. And don't forget to share this video, click on subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and tell everyone you know about this channel to help it grow. Thank you for your support.